a women's pool championship in the UK with no women in the final round. After two transgender players defeated their female opponents to face off for the title, one of the contestants said this back in December: "The evidence that we've received from our expert witnesses shows that I have no advantage. They've shown that pool isn't a gender-affected sport. We're not talking about boxing or golf, we're talking about pool." Clay Travis, founder of OutKick. You know, they may say that, but I would also add this. You know, the left has said, there's only a few people doing this. What's the big deal? But look at this, Trey. I know that you Clay, I know you pay attention to this. Trans athletes in the rowing competition. How about the fencer that took a knee? The track athletes in the girls' high jump competition. The women's disc golfer from the weekend. And now this in the UK. At some point, all of these add up to a big problem, Clay.
Yeah, Dana, my easy question for all of these individuals would be, why do we have men and women's sports competitions at all then? If there is no advantage whatsoever for men or biologically born men who decide to identify as women, why are we segregating the sexes? Why not just have one unisex category and see who ends up winning? And my suspicion in virtually every sport is that men would win and women would be excluded from competition, which is the same position that has existed for hundreds of years when it comes to athletics. And it seems a bit crazy that men would have an advantage in pool, but they do. And if it's true that they do not, then let's have unisex competitions and let's see who actually ends up winning. It seems like an easy experiment to put in place, and you can double the amount of money that's being won. And the unisex champion would be an interesting test to see whether or not there is some sort of gender divide in every sport. I think in virtually every one there would be, Dana, but why not go ahead and test it if they really want to argue that there is no difference between men and women's sports?
Well, I'm gonna connect a dot here, okay? So the other topic was about Michelle Obama's podcast. She's doing a podcast with her brother. I didn't actually remember she had a brother. Apparently, no one's really interested in this podcast. They have a ranking at 34th on Spotify, which is pretty low for somebody like you would imagine with the popularity of Michelle Obama. Clay, one way that she could get some attention would be to stand up for women in girls' sports. And I mean, imagine that.
It's a great point. It's a great point, Dana, particularly because her brother is a former NCAA champ.
Well, I was curious. Why do you think, I mean, maybe I could answer this myself, but I feel like something needs to happen to smoke out women who have succeeded in lots of different things, sports or otherwise. Like, why are they not willing to come out and help somebody like that? If Michelle Obama got behind protecting women and women's sports, it would make a difference and it would help her Spotify rating.
I think you're right. We saw the attention that Gavin Newsom got when he said that he thought it was completely unfair that men were competing as women. Now he got slapped back by his administration. Here's another one. It doesn't have to be just Michelle Obama, although I certainly think that having a prominent woman associated with the Democrat Party would help. Where's Barack Obama on this issue? He's a sports fan. He plays basketball. He has daughters. Why in the world would he not speak out on this? And you know what's interesting, Dana, is there are women athletes like Megan Rapinoe from the U.S. women's soccer team that actually have said they support men playing women's sports. Dawn Staley, the head coach of the South Carolina women's basketball program, has said this. This is, I think, a sickness because the politics is overriding the basic biology that every man and woman knows is true. Look, why do the Olympics have men and women's sports? Because if they didn't, women might not win a single medal. That's the reality. This is crazy, Dana. 14 and 15-year-old boys are better at almost every track and field event than the greatest women's track athletes of all time. We're not talking about grown men. We're talking about 14 and 15-year-old boys. Biology is real. Democrats should try acknowledging it.
And young women like that fencer from last week are much more courageous than the women that you were just mentioning that have already succeeded
You're exactly
in sports
right.
and are safe and comfortable after their retirement.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.